The big fish, the truth, Errol Spence is back, and he been giving his take on a whole lot of things that's been going on. And recently, he let everybody know that he feels that Bud Crawford got robbed out of an award that he thinks that Bud deserved. We're going to talk about that in this video. But before we do that, make sure you hit my like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already subbed to the channel. So after months and months and months of keeping quiet, going on vacation with his family, basically minding his business like he had the right to do, Errol Spence popped out, and he popped out in a big way. He had a whole lot to say. And of course, I made a couple videos letting y'all keep up with everything that EJ been saying. But recently, man, he talked about Bud Crawford. Now, this is a subject that I was intending on talking about myself, but I just never got around to it. And that's the Fighter of the Year. Now, the Fighter of the Year is an opinionated subject, just like pound for pound. But everybody have their different opinions on who they think is pound for pound number one in the pound for pound list. And everybody have their opinion at the end of the year who is supposed to be the Fighter of the Year. Just like I have my opinion. And y'all better believe in this video, I'm also going to break down my Fighter of the Year and why I picked him as my Fighter of the Year. But everybody has their opinion on who their Fighter of the Year should be. And in this video, Errol Spence shares his opinion on who his Fighter of the Year should be. And one thing I've always told everybody when speaking on EJ is that he gonna keep it real 1,000% of the time. And he ain't no hater. See, a lot of these fighters, they haters. Even though they may get beat by a fighter, they gonna do everything they can to downplay the other man's victory. And EJ don't do that. Yeah, he came out and he discussed that he did have an injury, but he didn't take credit away from Terence Crawford. He let everybody know, hey man, this ain't to take credit away from Bud. Bud still went in there and he did his thing. And he even came back and said, yeah, that man beat my ass. But I'm still going to come in for my get back, win, lose, or draw. So with that being said, one of the biggest topics at the end of the year is Fighter of the Year. And Bud Crawford did not win Fighter of the Year this year. That award went to the Monster Inoue. I thought the award was deserving, right? Now, I never spoke on this situation, but I heard a lot of people saying that Bud Crawford deserved to win that award. I heard Bud Crawford, he came out and he basically said that he got robbed, that he should have been the Fighter of the Year. He beat Errol Spence that was undefeated, that was running through the whole division for years, and he was the only one that was able to take him out. Now, Bud had a good point. Errol Spence, he said that, yeah, Bud did get robbed. Even though it was against me, I feel that Bud Crawford is without a shadow of a doubt the Fighter of the Year. He should have got the award. Now, it doesn't surprise me that Errol Spence says that because, if you think that you're the best in the sport and another man come knock you off, well, yeah, you're going to want to give him all the respect in the world. Even though a lot of fighters don't act like that and they don't do that, but deep down in them, they know what it is. Errol Spence, he just lets it be known to the public. So that's his opinion. He feels that since Terence Crawford beat him, that Terence Bud Crawford should definitely be the Fighter of the Year. And one thing about EJ, even going way back to like 2018 when I interviewed him, right? And he told me, hey, man, I think Bud Crawford's a hell of a fighter. I think he's definitely pound for pound number one. He told me that personally way back then. And this is when EJ was on the top of his game. Now, he was saying that, yeah, because at that point in the time, I think who was pound for pound number one back then? I think it was Canelo. It was between Canelo and Bud. And Errol Spence said that he thought it was Bud Crawford at that point in time. Now, even though I didn't agree with that, he's always gave Bud Crawford all of the props in the world. He told me he liked Bud. Even when Bomac was talking all type of shit, disrespecting Errol Spence, EJ was like, man, I think Bud cool. Like, I'm a fan of Bud. And that was a time before Bud fought Kell Brook, but they was talking about him fighting Kell Brook. Now the fight didn't actually happen until like 2 years later, but he was saying, yeah, I think Bud gonna run through Kell Brook. And at that point in time, everybody thought that Kell Brook was washed up. EJ wasn't saying it in that way. He was just giving Bud his props. Like, yeah, I think Bud gonna walk through him. So he's always gave Terence Crawford his props. Now, I don't agree with Errol Spence in this sense. I don't think that Bud Crawford should have got the Fighter of the Year award. And my reasoning is because, yeah, he did beat Errol Spence, but he only beat one fighter. You had other fighters out there that I think that was more deserving. One was David Benavidez. David Benavidez, he came and beat Caleb Plant, who only had lost to Canelo Alvarez, right? And I'm talking about dominated Caleb Plant from the 6th round to the 12th round. Made Caleb Plant go into survival mode for the second half of that fight. And then David Benavidez came back at the end of the year and completely dominated Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, a fighter that they said David was ducking for years. A fighter that they said was too skilled for David Benavidez. A fighter that they said that Canelo was ducking. A fighter that they said that Jamal Charlo was ducking for years. A fighter that they said that had the skill level of the elites of the elite. Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. He went out there and dominated. Walked through him like some wet tissue paper. And of course, after he did it, they made a million excuses and still didn't want to give David Benavidez his credit. But to me, David Benavidez put on 2 stellar pay-per-view performances and dominated in both of those fights. So to me, he should have been ahead of Bud Crawford, right, in consideration. And then you got the man who won the award, Inoue. Inoue went out there, and the first thing he did was completely dominate Cool Boy Steph. Everybody was talking about that Cool Boy Steph was a top pound-for-pound fighter in the sport. Cool Boy Steph was undefeated, man, and he had been looking like he was unstoppable in his division. Had beat undefeated Brandon Figueroa in a Fight of the Year type of fight. And Cool Boy Steph, man, wasn't nobody touching him, man. And Inoue came out there, moved up in weight, and dominated that man. Dominated him and knocked him out in like the 6th round, right? And that performance let me know that, hey, the monster is real. He real. And then after that, at the end of the year, a few weeks ago, he went out there and he put on a hell of a performance against Tapales and became undisputed in a whole different weight division than he used to campaign at. The man moved up, beat Stephen Fulton ass, and then became undisputed in Stephen Fulton's weight division after beating his ass, man, and put on 2 dominating performances. Showed that these fighters can't touch him. First he dominated 118 weight division, and then he came and dominated 122 and dominated the new weight division 122 that he moved up in and became undisputed in that division in less than a year. You know what I'm talking about? Now talk to me. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of shit that I'm talking about. So yeah, he should have been Fighter of the Year, and he was my Fighter of the Year. Even though David Benavidez is my dog, and I wanted to give it to him, but I got to keep it a buck, and I had to give it to Inoue. Now, the only reason, and I know a lot of y'all crying right now, the only reason I didn't give it to Terence Crawford is because, yeah, he probably beat the best fighter out of all of these fighters that we talking about. But Terence Crawford only had that one performance. If Bud had a came and had a knocked off somebody like Jaron Ennis, oh yeah, he definitely would have got it. But he didn't do that. And let me clarify what I said. If Bud had a came back after beating Errol Spence and knocked off somebody like Jaron Ennis, yeah, he definitely would have been Fighter of the Year without a shadow of the doubt. Or if he had a came and fought Jamel Charlo, moved up in weight and whooped him. Matter of fact, man, he could have came back and fought Stanny Onis, Keith Thurman, or any of them dudes, right? And I would have still gave it to Terence Bud Crawford if he dominated any one of those guys after fighting Errol Spence. But he only fought one fight. You know what I'm saying? Inoue wouldn't have got it if he only had to beat Cool Boy Steph and then didn't fight again. You feel me? David Benavidez wouldn't have been in consideration to me if he only had beat Caleb Plant. But I have to put both of them ahead of Bud Crawford because they both put on two dominant performances, not one. And that's not to take nothing away from Bud. That's just my opinion on how I look at the fighter of the year. So yeah, I didn't agree with Errol Spence in this situation, but I can see where he's coming from because he feels, hey, I'm better than all them fighters and Bud beat me, so you gotta give it to him. But anyway, man, I want to hear y'all opinion. Who do y'all think should have got fighter of the year? Let me know in the comments. Make sure that y'all hit my like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subbed. And yeah, man, I want to hear y'all comments on this whole situation. Let me know. Y'all already know how I do. Diego talking that boxing again. And I'm gone.
Got the top let down. Lean into the right.